What has been the objective in your research into stem cell transplantation?
In recent years, a lot of interest about intense immunosuppression followed by autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation has been growing into the neurological community, and more often, patients and neurologists uh, consider bone marrow transplantation as a possible treatment for aggressive MS cases. But however, there are no data from prospective controlled randomized trial comparing the efficacy and the safety of this procedure against the available pharmacological therapy. So data from a study like ours, like the one we performed, are very useful because we wanted to collect the long-term outcomes of a large cohort of aggressive MS patients treated in Italy with autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation from the beginning of the history of transplant in the neurological community, so back to the 90s to 2017. And so we collected all the data available and we analyzed in order to have safety and efficacy profile of the procedure.
So it all sounds really new. What's happening at the moment, or quite new compared to other ways of treating MS? How does it feel being a researcher in that environment?
Yeah, the history of transplant in MS started almost 20 years ago, but in the first years it was barely taken into account by neurologists because its safety profile and for the risk of death related to the procedure. But in recent years, data are accumulating about the efficacy, the strong efficacy of this procedure, and the dropping of the transplant related adverse events. So this procedure in recent years has been developed and used in different countries worldwide.
And what do you look for in the data?
We wanted to analyze the neurological status assessed by the EDSS, but also the number of new relapses, clinical relapses, but also the activity on magnetic resonance imaging. And the data convincingly indicate that autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation is very effective for inducing a sustained disease remission, both for neurological disability progression. So, if we analyze our cohort of relapsing remitting MS patients, almost 90% of them had no neurological progression for up to 15 years after this procedure. And even if we consider a more ambitious endpoint like the NIDA status, so the no evidence of disease activity, which means no clinical relapses, no ADSS progression, and no radiological activity, we found that almost 80% of relapsing remitting MS patients were disease free at 5 years after the procedure. And to note, it's important to say that after bone marrow transplantation, patients were not prescribed with any other disease modifying therapies, so they were therapies free. And it's very important also for the quality of life of these patients.
Great, sounds really promising.
Yeah, of course, the other side of the coin is the safety profile, because the procedure is related to adverse events, and adverse events are very frequent, and they have to be managed by experienced centers in order to guarantee the most security for the patients.